The Velvet Drizzle, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on. Let me just can I get your beautiful face up here solo on the screen for just a sec? He's making me do this. I didn't want to. He made me do it.
I deny that.
Shawn Ennis, ladies and gentlemen. So Ink and Ash is not really a thing anymore, right?
I mean, it's still a thing. You can still find it. I just haven't posted for a while, That's all it is. It's just inactive. It's not dead.
Well, it's not dead. So tell people then a little bit about who you are and what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do, Mr. Driz?
Well, Nick. Hi, everybody. I'm Shawn. I am the host of the Ink and Ash podcast. When I host the Ink and Ash podcast, I narrate short stories. Is what I do. And what I do on this stream this is my 5th year going into this stream?
I think so, yeah.
What I do here is I narrate short stories, and you guys pay me to eat. You don't pay me. You pay to the thing that Nick is doing here, the live stream. You pay for that. You give to the Cancer Research Institute, and for every increment of tonight, it's going to be every increment of $75. I will consume, and Nick will also consume a wing doused in the latest season of Hot Ones sauces. Now, I should say this is the last season of Hot Ones sauces. We got season 23 before 24 was available. But we do have them all, and they are sauced and ready to go. See, Nick has 10 there. I have 20, mind you. So I'm ready to do this twice.
See, I just did normal chicken wings, but I mean, I can always figure something else out. You know how it is.
That's true. I do. You know how to get creative. I have my sweat towel here tonight. I've got 2 glasses of water. Because the thing is, traditionally when you have these ridiculously spicy things, you want to have, your dairy products, things like that. But when you're narrating a story, dairy products they're no good. They're no good. Yep. It just results in tongue-tied situations and mouth sounds that nobody wants. Nobody wants these things. So, that's what we got tonight. That's what we got tonight, Nick. Am I missing anything?
Your dad says, "Hello, my handsome son," unless he's talking to me.
That's my mom. That's got to be my mom. My dad would not be saying these.
Someone.
Hopefully, it's my mom.
Yeah, it's your mom.
Not, then
there you go.
It's a weird comment for somebody else to make.
So yeah, we're doing the Wings of Death again, ladies and gentlemen. We did this last year during Livestream for the Cure. I've got the list here, so once we hit that certain level, I'll tell you all what the sauce is going to be in the Scoville units, which is the more important thing that everybody cares about, is how hot it's going to be. We're vets at this now, though. We got this, right?
It's easy at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Evans is the host of Hot Ones. My name is very similar to that. So
it's true. Shawn. Yeah, I mean,
what more do you want? And you'll notice this year, I know that you wore over-ear headphones last year. I usually wear earbuds to this thing.
Here we go.
Because I'm going to sweat. I'm already sweating. I'm going to sweat more. And this is going to just hold all that goodness in there. And it's going to get hot in here. It's already hot in here. It's going to get hot.
Yeah, it's already hot in here, too. Amityville Death Toilet dropped a $10 donation in there. Oh, no. All right. First one's coming.
Already?
I just haven't heard it yet. It's gonna ring out any second here. Can you hear the alerts, by the way? Did you hear that last one?
I can't.
You didn't hear that?
No, but that's okay. I don't need to. And are we turning off the alerts during the story?
We're gonna turn off the alerts during the story. That was a $75 donation from, I believe, Gerald, who said hi, Gerald, and then $75, and then the comment says hi, Shawn. So I don't know if that was from Gerald or not, but yeah, that's the first one.
No, that's from me. I'm the only person that says hi to people through messages.
And then we have another one coming in here from Drew Hallam.
Here we go.
Drew.
A $10 donation. Show love for Mama Ennis giving us the Velvet Drizzle. Have you told your mom about the Velvet Drizzle? Is she asked? Is she confused? Does she not understand why?
She saw the segment last year. I don't know if I don't know. Have I brought that? I generally don't share my hard-earned given nicknames with people unless they experience the show and hear someone talk about it.
She said she knows all, so she's good.
There you go.
There you go.
That's definitely my mom. So the way this is going to work, folks, you don't have to give $75, but every time we hit a $75 increment, Nick and I are going to consume these wings. So, Nick, why don't you tell us about the first one?
First one is going to be Hot Ones Buffalo Hot Sauce. I got to find it over in my mountain over here. Hot Ones Buffalo Hot. Oh my God, where is this thing? I know it's over here. There it is.
I got it right here.
Hot Ones Buffalo. Oh, there we go. Yep. Hot Ones Buffalo Hot Sauce. 1,800 Scoville units. Buffalo's back, baby. Hot Ones original buffalo sauce captured hearts and taste buds and blah, 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 blah. Cayenne peppers, tasty vinegar, tangy vinegar, and real butter. What's not to love, ladies and gentlemen? So I didn't sauce mine ahead of time because I didn't have time. So I'm going to have to do raw sauce, a little splash on the wing before I got a raw dog it here. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are all pre-sauced. These are, mind you, normally I don't do the boneless thing, but I'm narrating tonight. I can't begin sauce on my hands, people. So these are all pre-sauced, ready to go. And as I said, I have 2 of each. So, Nick, if you're ready.
All right, there we go. There's mine right there. Yeah. It's delicious.
Delightful.
So I figured I would do real wings because I brined these chicken wings and then I just air fried them. So yeah, let Nick go wild. That's right, Julio. So yeah, I air fried these brined for brined for 3 days. And then I just air fried them. So they're juicy and flavorful, and that sauce is amazing. Love that stuff.
Wonderful. Now here's the thing, Nick. We did this last year. Is it me, or is that number 1 sauce a lot spicier than last year's number 1 sauce?
I gotta be honest, Shawn. My body is preparing itself for the bomb again. It remembers the pain and how it just kept climbing and getting hotter. It remembers.
I gotta tell you. As I was preparing for this, when we were talking about the segment, everything, I'm getting excited. I'm enjoying it. I love doing the live stream. I'm getting all excited for this. Today, as I was preparing these wings, I was like, what have I done? Why have I done this again? And now, here I am.
Yeah, that was delicious. Delicious. I'm still a little hungry. I'm going to stop getting hungry around wing 6 or 7. I won't really be hungry anymore. But yeah, we can turn down the alerts. I think I fixed it, so you should hear the alerts now. It's been 2.5 days and nobody's been able to hear these alerts as far as I know now. Always good. But so if you're ready, I'm going to turn down the sound. I'm going to get my face off of the stage here, and the floor, my friend, is yours.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a couple of stories for you tonight here. First one is called The Night Wire, and it's by H.R. Wakefield. H.R. Wakefield contributed a lot to the old Weird Tales magazine back in the day. This one was back in, I believe, 1933 or thereabouts. Now, usually I have the mood lighting and everything with the old LEDs. I don't have that set up in here. As you can see, I'm quite shiny, so I apologize for that. So you have to look at my shiny forehead for a while. I'll try to keep my head down so it's not quite as shiny. Get a little shade on there. So we're going to go into the Night Wire now. A little bit of background on this story, a little bit of background on what a Night Wire is. Now, back in the day, this is about how news would come in over the wires. It would come in Morse code. And you would have a guy there transcribing on a typewriter the different news stories. And this is about someone who was a transcriber, a night wire guy that worked the overnight shift and a particular night. So here we go. The Night Wire. I said it was H.R. Wakefield. It's not H.R. Wakefield. It's H.F. Arnold. Here we go. The Night Wire by H.F. Arnold. There is something ungodly about these night wire jobs. You sit up here on the top floor of a skyscraper and listen to the whispers of a civilization. New York, London, Calcutta, Bombay, Singapore. They're your next door neighbors after the streetlights go dim and the world has gone to sleep. Alone in the quiet hours between 2 and 4, the receiving operators doze over their sounders and the news comes in. Fires and disasters and suicides. Murders, crowds, catastrophes. Sometimes an earthquake with a casualty list as long as your arm. The night wire man takes it down almost in his sleep, picking it off on his typewriter with one finger. Once in a long time, you pick up your ears and listen. You've heard of someone you knew in Singapore or Halifax or Paris long ago. Maybe they've been promoted, but more probably they've been murdered or drowned. Perhaps they just decided to quit and took some bizarre way out. Made it interesting enough to get in the news. See, I'm sorry, this is going to happen during the story a little bit. Well, I don't usually eat while I narrate, so you're going to get the stifled belching. Gross. Anyway, but that doesn't happen often. Most of the time you sit and doze and tap on your typewriter and wish you were home in bed. Sometimes, though, queer things happen. One did the other night, and I haven't got over it yet. I wish I could. You see, I handle the night manager's desk in a western seaport town. What the name is doesn't matter. There is, or rather was, only one night operator on my staff, a fellow named John Morgan, about 40 years of age, I should say, and a sober, hard-working sort. He was one of the best operators I ever knew, what is known as a double man. That means he could handle 2 instruments at once and type the stories on different typewriters at the same time. He was one of the 3 men I ever knew who could do it consistently, hour after hour, and never make a mistake. Generally, we only use 1 wire at night, but sometimes, when it was late and the news was coming fast, the Chicago and Denver stations would open a 2nd wire, and then Morgan would do his stuff. He was a wizard, a mechanical, automatic wizard, which functioned marvelously but was without imagination. On the night of the 16th, he complained of feeling tired. It was the first and last time I had ever heard him say a word about himself, and I had known him for 3 years. It was just 3 o'clock, and we were running only 1 wire. I was nodding over the reports at my desk and not paying much attention to him when he spoke. "Jim," he said, "does it feel close in here to you?" "Why, no, John," I answered, "but I'll open a window if you like." "Never mind," he said. "I reckon I'm just a little tired." That was all that was said, and I went on working. Every 10 minutes or so, I would walk over and take a pile of copy that had stacked up neatly beside the typewriter as the messages were printed out in triplicate. It must have been 20 minutes after he spoke that I noticed he had opened up the other wire and was using both typewriters. I thought it was a little unusual, as there was nothing very hot coming in. On my next trip, I picked up the copy from both machines and took it back to my desk to sort out the duplicates. The first wire was running out the usual sort of stuff, and I just looked over it hurriedly. Then I turned to the second pile of copy. I remembered it particularly because the story was from a town I had never heard of, Zebico. Here's the dispatch. I saved a duplicate from our files. Zebico, September 16th, CP Bulletin. The heaviest mist in the history of the city settled over the town at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. All traffic has stopped, and the mist hangs like a pall over everything. Lights of ordinary intensity fail to pierce the fog, which is constantly growing heavier. Scientists here are unable to agree as to the cause, and the local weather bureau states that the like has never occurred before in the history of the city. At 7 p.m. last night, the municipal authorities, and it goes on. That's all there was. Nothing out of the ordinary at bureau headquarters, but as I say, I noticed the story because of the name of the town. It must have been 15 minutes later that I went over for another batch of copy. Morgan was slumped down in his chair and had switched his green electric light shade so that the gleam missed his eyes and only hit the top of the 2 typewriters. Only the usual stuff was on the right-hand pile, but the left-hand batch carried another story from Zebico. All press dispatches come in takes, meaning that parts of many different stories are strung along together, perhaps with but a few paragraphs of each coming through at a time. This second story was marked Add Fog. Here is the copy. At 7 p.m., the fog had increased noticeably. All lights were now invisible, and the town was shrouded in pitch darkness. As a peculiarity of the phenomenon, the fog is accompanied by a sickly odor, comparable to nothing yet experienced here. Below that, in customary press fashion, was the hour, 3:27, and the initials of the operator, J.M. There was only one other story in the pile from the second wire. Here it is. Second ad, Zebico Fog. Accounts as to the origin of the mist differ greatly. Among the most unusual is that the sexton of the local church, who groped his way to headquarters in a hysterical condition and declared that the fog had originated in the village churchyard. "It was first visible as a soft gray blanket clinging to the earth above the graves," he stated. "Then it began to rise, higher and higher. A subterranean breeze seemed to blow it in billows, which split up and then joined it together again. Fog phantoms, writhing in anguish, twisted the mist into queer forms and figures. And then, in the very thick midst of the mass, something moved. I turned and ran from the accursed spot. Behind me I heard screams coming from the houses bordering on the graveyard." Although the sexton's story is generally discredited, a party has left to investigate. Immediately after telling his story, the sexton collapsed, and is now in a local hospital unconscious. Queer story, wasn't it? Not that we aren't used to it, for a lot of unusual stories come in over the wire. But for some reason or another, perhaps because it was so quiet that night, the report of the fog made a great impression on me. It was almost with dread that I went over to the waiting piles of copy. Morgan did not move, and the only sound in the room was the tap-tap of the sounders. It was ominous, nerve-wracking. All right, that's our first break.
All right. Get ready to take down wing number 2, my friend, because we got a whole bunch of smaller donations in there. Let me read them off to you. Old Man Brad, eat that wing, $10. Gerald, $10. Shawn is in North Carolina now. LFG. Let's friggin' go. The Diced Onion, $10 donation. Real Feels, Drew Hallam, $10 donations. Some love from Mama Ennis for giving us. Oh, I think I already read that one out. But yeah, so we are up to wing number 2, which is Sam Sahouse, Smokey J, 6,000 Scoville units. There it is, that beautiful bottle right there. A newcomer to the Hot Ones fam, Chef Sam has been perfecting this recipe featuring cherrywood smoked jalapenos, agave, and a nice touch of cumin. You take a whiff of this, Shawn Ennis. It is incredibly smoky.
Yeah.
And and we're going right on to wing number 3 afterward because the mom just donated $100. So that's already another 25 toward wing 4 too. So should I just read that off or you want to eat wing 2 first?
Let's do wing 2 first.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Yeah, and I'll tell you, I when I sauced these things, I poured it in the little container, where I was shaking it up, and it almost made me start coughing. It was still so smoky.
Yeah.
I love smoky.
This one's amazingly smoky.
Mm. That's good.
It's good though. Yeah. That's like right off the smoker. Like literally tastes like straight off the smoker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. I need as much of that as I can possibly ingest.
Yeah. It's actually less hot than the last one.
Well,
I think.
I wonder if maybe it'll have a little like delayed effect kind of thing.
Well, something on the tail end there.
Yeah. Yeah, that is wing 2. Wing 3, right on its heels. Funky Stellar Fuzz, a jump 3 times and then some. Scoville units, 19,000, up from 6,000 last time. First it's savory, then it's sweet. Funky's contrasts the fruitiness of habanero peppers with savory garlic and then complements this combo with apple cider vinegar and ginger. It says the heat lingers. I got to sauce my wing here. Let me grab that one.
And that's
Funky's, yeah.
It's this one here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me get my sauce on here. One day I'd love to have these like actually prepared and like the sauce like cooked onto the wing and not just pouring raw sauce onto the wing.
Yeah.
But such is life. This one's a very runny sauce. But there we go.
It is pretty runny.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Ooh, that is sweet.
Very sweet. Very interesting.
Right off the bat, sweet. But then there comes the heat right there. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Oh, boy. Drop my wing.
I like that one. That's good.
Incredible flavor.
Yeah. Very tasty. I tell you, all 3 of these so far, well, the last 2 especially, taste a lot better than they smell.
Yeah.
Very tasty.
Hold on to that hope and that feeling right now. Just hold on to that, Shawn Ennis.
All right.
You're going to need it, brother.
So anyway, that's the end of the show. I got to go. And
yeah. Oh, man. So sleepy. What's the next segment? Gerald's in here. Oh, goodness gracious. $50 more to wing 4. And yeah, that heat hangs out. It is hanging out on the palate. Yeah.
She's lingering.
It's real nice, though. Oh, that's real nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to go away and let you continue, sir.
All right. All right. Here we go. Get some water before we get back to it here. All right. There was another story from Zebico in the pile of copy. I seized on it anxiously. New lead, Zebico Fog, CP. The rescue party, which went out at 11 p.m. to investigate a weird story of the origin of a fog, which since late yesterday has shrouded the city in darkness, has failed to return. Another and larger party has been dispatched. Meanwhile, the fog has, if possible, grown heavier. It seeps through the cracks in the doors and fills the atmosphere with a depressing odor of decay. It is oppressive, terrifying, bearing with it a subtle impression of things long dead. Residents of the city have left their homes and gathered in the local church where the priests are holding services of prayer. The scene is beyond description. Grown folk and children are alike terrified, and many are almost beside themselves with fear. Amid the wisps of vapor which partly veil the church auditorium, an old priest is praying for the welfare of his flock. They alternately wail and cross themselves. From the outskirts of the city may be heard cries of unknown voices. They echo through the fog in queer, uncadenced minor keys. The sounds resemble nothing so much as wind whistling through a gigantic tunnel. But the night is calm, and there is no wind. The second rescue party, and it goes on. Now I am a calm man, and never in a dozen years spent with the wires have I been known to become excited, but despite myself I rose from my chair and walked to the window. Could I be mistaken, or far down in the canyons of the city beneath me did I see a faint trace of fog? It was all imagination. In the press room, the click of the sounders seemed to have raised the tempo of their tune. Morgan alone had not stirred from his chair. His head sunk between his shoulders, he tapped the dispatches out on the typewriters with one finger of each hand. He looked asleep. Maybe he was. But no. Endlessly, efficiently, the two machines rattled off line after line as relentlessly and effortlessly as death itself. There was something about the monotonous movement of the typewriter keys that fascinated me. I walked over and stood behind his chair, reading over his shoulder the type as it came into being, word by word. Here was another. Flash Zivico CP. There will be no more bulletins from this office. The impossible has happened. No messages have come into this room for 20 minutes. We are cut off from the outside and even the streets below us. I will stay with the wire until the end. It is the end, indeed. Since 4 p.m. yesterday, the fog has hung over the city. Following reports from the sexton of the local church, 2 rescue parties were sent out to investigate conditions on the outskirts of the city. Neither party has ever returned, nor was any word received from them. It is quite certain now that they will never return. From my instrument, I can gaze down on the city beneath me. From the position of this room on the 13th floor, nearly the entire city can be seen. Now I see only a thick blanket of blackness, where customarily are lights and life. I fear greatly that the wailing cries heard constantly from the outskirts of the city are the death cries of the inhabitants. They are constantly increasing in volume and are approaching the center of the city. The fog yet hangs over everything. If possible, it is even heavier than before, but the conditions have changed. Instead of an opaque, impenetrable wall of odorous vapor, there now swirls and writhes a shapeless mass in contortions of almost human agony. Now and again the mass parts, and I catch a brief glimpse of the streets below. People are running to and fro, screaming in despair. A vast bedlam of sound flies up to my window, and above all is the immense whistling of unseen and unfelt winds. The fog has again swept over the city, and the whistling is coming closer and closer. It is now directly beneath me. An instant ago the mist opened, and I caught a glimpse of the streets below. The fog is not simply vapor, it lives. By the side of each moaning and weeping human is a companion figure, an aura of strange and varicolored hues. How the shapes cling, each to a living thing. The men and women are down, flat on their faces. The fog figures caress them lovingly. They are kneeling beside them. But I dare not tell it. The prone and writhing bodies have been stripped of their clothing. They are being consumed piecemeal. A merciful wall of hot, steaming vapor has swept over the whole scene. I can see no more. Beneath me, the wall of vapor is changing colors. It seems to be lighted by internal fires. No, it isn't. I have made a mistake. The colors are from above, reflections from the sky. Look up. Look up. The whole sky is in flames, colors as yet unseen by man or demon. The flames are moving. They have started to intermix. The colors are rearranging themselves. They are so brilliant that my eyes burn. They are a long way off. Now they have begun to swirl, to circle in and out, twisting in intricate designs and patterns. The lights are racing, with each a kaleidoscope of unearthly brilliance. I have made a discovery. There is nothing harmful in the lights. They radiate force and friendliness, almost cheeriness. But by their very strength, they hurt. As I look, they are swinging closer and closer, 1,000,000 miles at each jump, millions of miles with the speed of light. It is light of quintessence of all light. Beneath it, the fog melts into a jeweled mist, radiant, rainbow-colored of 1,000 varied spectra. I can see the streets. Why, they are filled with people. The lights are coming closer. They are all around me. I am enveloped. The message stopped abruptly. The wire to Zebico was dead. Beneath my eyes, in the narrow circle of light from under the green lampshade, the black printing no longer spun itself, letter by letter, across the page. The room seemed filled with a solemn quiet, a silence vaguely impressive, powerful. I looked down at Morgan. His hands had dropped nervelessly at his sides, while his body had hunched over peculiarly. I turned the lampshade back, throwing light squarely in his face. His eyes were staring, fixed. Filled with a sudden foreboding, I stepped beside him and called Chicago on the wire. After a second, the sounder clicked its answer. Why? But there was something wrong. Chicago was reporting that Wire 2 had not been used throughout the evening. Morgan, I shouted. Morgan, wake up. It isn't true. Someone has been hoaxing us. In my eagerness, I grasped him by the shoulder. His body was quite cold. Morgan had been dead for hours. Could it be that his sensitized brain and automatic fingers had continued to record impressions even after the end? I shall never know, for I shall never again handle the night shift. Searching a world atlas discloses no town of Zebico. Whatever it was that killed John Morgan will forever remain a mystery. And that is the end of that story.
All right. And I got really hungry while you were reading there, so I donated $50 to put us up to wing number 4, which is one we had last year. So yes. I know you know what it's all about. I actually love this sauce. On principle, this is Los Calientes Verde. Fun fact, this is actually my bottle from last year still, because I still haven't finished it. So I was like, why open the new one?
Yes.
But yeah, Los Calientes Verde right there, ready to rock and roll. Yes, Daniel.
Yeah, make sure you re-add yourself to the stage, because you began reading donations the last 2 times without adding yourself to the stage.
I mean, Stream can hear me, just Ennis can't.
Okay.
But there we go.
Cheers.
God, that's good sauce. I love that.
Yeah, that's really good.
A tomatillo in there is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it looks like we got another $10 donation in there. $10 from Stu. Burn them tongues, gentlemen. How them legs coming down, Stu? Stu's still digesting those legs. Well, crickets.
I think I heard the diced onion earlier. Is that right? That's my buddy Joel. Shout out to Joel.
Yeah, he's ready to see your eyes water. Your mom was making fun of you because you were already wiping your brow, too.
Well, I was doing that before the show even started. And I will continue to do so.
You know what the annoying thing is, my wings are cold now. Those don't taste as good cold. Sauce is still a banger, though.
Season.
That sauce is still a banger, though. So, yeah, we're still like $60 away, or 60, yeah. Math, Nick, $65 away from our next swing, which gets us halfway to the halfway point of the Hot Ones Challenge. So please make those donations, ladies and gentlemen. It all goes to a World Immune to Cancer. And I mean, we already know what's coming on the back end of this thing. Like, it's been so pleasurable so far. It's been so nice.
It's lovely. I can, this is great. If people just want me to, eat the first 4 wings and read a couple stories, I'm fine with that,
Just dab our.
Yeah.
So perfect, man.
Yeah. I prepared. I have the Raven after this one is the next one I was going to read. Just the Poe poem.
Classic.
Yeah, that's always a fun one to do.
Got another $25 donation in there as well. We got Julio. I spot no lie. Shawn rocks. Yes, he does.
Deep cut, Julio. That was the old. Actually, you were on a show that we did for the Patreon.
Yeah, I was on a couple of them. I remember. Yeah, with Moxie and with a whole slew of different people. Drew was on there. Yeah.
Yeah, Drew was on there. Julio was on there. Yeah, yeah.
So another $40. We're $40 more away from that fifth wing.
All right.
Which is Queso Sin Queso is the next one coming up.
Yeah. This is the one. See, this is the one that I was kind of excited to try because I am a big. This mirroring is messing me up. I always enjoy a good queso. Of course, I would prefer a queso con queso, but sin queso is it's interesting.
You got time? I can go melt down some cheddar cheese or something like that. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, get them donations in there, Shawn. I'll yield the floor back to you. I'm still hungry. Right. Don't make me just start eating them for fun now.
I'm only halfway through my first glass of water. I still got another one to go. So
the water starts going a lot faster. The higher up the list you get, I notice.
It does. It does. When I was saucing the bomb wings, I was reminded of last year and just how terribly it starts going around wing number 8. You know.
All right, my friend.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and do the Raven here. Edgar Allan Poe. You may have heard this one before. The old classic poem from Poe. So here we go. This is always better with music, but of course, I don't have the music capabilities right now, but that's fine. We're going to get going here. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, nothing more." Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying brought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And that silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that scarce I was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven, of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but, with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched, and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is, on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply of so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er. But whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign in parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie that thou hast spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, and quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.
Dun, dun, dun. Man, I love that so much. I would also really, really love to have another wing, but we're still hanging out at $49.85. We need some more donations to come in here. I'm even willing to go back down to the 50 we did last year if they want to get us through the wings. Once we get to this one anyway, got to get us at least halfway there, folks. We haven't, we're still hungry. We're still hungry. $40 more and we'll get to wing number 5, and then we'll do 50 from there. Just so that way we can ingest some wings of death. So please make those donations, ladies and gentlemen. It's stuck. Oh no. I'm not sure what happened, Mama Ennis. I always think of the Simpsons episode for the Raven whenever I hear or read or anything like that. The Raven. Yeah, I really always do.
Yeah.
Such a classic. That was like Treehouse of Horror 1 too. That was like ancient, ages ago. Ages ago. I wouldn't want to refresh the page if like she had already submitted to make a donation. Oh, wait a minute. I see something happened over there. Gerald says eat with a $50 donation. So that's enough to get us the queso sin queso for sure. And then, yeah, we'll go $50. Guess you can't find the donation. Close the browser. I ran into this problem too because I was reusing the same tab. Close the browser tab completely and then open a new browser tab to go to the donation link again. Because I did that before. I used the same one that I had used previously and it told me it couldn't find the cart. Yeah, so just close whatever browser tab you were using to donate before. Meanwhile, yeah, Mr. Ennis, let me get my... I hate that I have to close... Oh, okay. I could just bring myself back by exiting you out of the solo layout. Okay.
Hey.
You're not supposed to hear the alerts, Gerald. They're off because it's Shawn Ennis. Remember? We did the same thing last year.
So here we go. Queso sin queso.
Yep. Let me get this poured out here. A little dab right on the top there. Ooh, that's thick. That's thick.
It is thick. It's also very smelly.
It smells like cheese, but it's my understanding there's no actual cheese in it.
Yeah, it's all plant-based.
So I don't know. All right.
I'm unsure about this, so I'm interested to try.
Well, we're gonna find out one way or the other, right? Here we go.
Yes, indeed. Here we go.
It does not taste like cheese.
Nope.
Not even close.
Mm-mm. That is, so this one is the Dan Brennick special. This is fine, I would say.
Fine, yeah. Perfect description.
You better hit up Matt Murdock, boy.
It does taste like crickets, oddly enough.
Shout out Paul Chomo.
Stu, did you kiss your wife after you got all those legs in there? That's what I really want to know.
Shout out Stu, too.
Whew. That one's got a little heat to it.
Yeah.
She won't even let me sit near her, he says. Oh, man. Officially over the $5,000 mark as well. Drew Halamos is a whole bunch of moonshine when he gets back in here eventually. I think he'll be back on for next segment with Gerald. So he's going to have to catch up.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what the problem is my lips were already like chapped from when I was out in the sun yesterday. So now like the hot sauce is hitting like my like slightly chapped lips and they're starting to tingle a little bit. I ain't liking that.
It's starting to buzz a little bit now. Starting to buzz a little bit.
That one's got heat.
Getting serious, but
that one's got heat.
It's not getting too serious yet, but you know we're approaching it.
The problem is the back half of that list goes. It starts to increase so fast, like in terms of heat. Yeah. Next up, we're bringing in the Reapers. The Reapers are coming.
Yeah, this one I'm interested to try. Oops, the Bourbon Maple Reaper.
Yep. Oh no. Well, your mom jumping in there with another $75 donation said, "Great cause. Let's burn it down." So we're gonna get your chance. You're gonna get your chance real quick here, my friend, to taste Cantina Royale's Bourbon Maple Reaper.
Oh, mom, always looking to burn it down.
All right.
It's funny because I don't drink, but I enjoy a bourbon flavor in food. But we're gonna see how it goes.
Yeah, let's see how this one turns out here. Definitely has like a nice bourbony smell to it. I smell the smokiness.
It smells kind of sweet too.
Yep. All right. So yeah, there we go. Cheers. It is sweet. A little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's that. I'm getting that Reaper in there.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot.
That's a nice one.
Very tasty. And here it comes too. This is a jump.
Yeah, that one went from, so the Queso Sin Queso was 52,000. This one was 73,000.
What was that jump again?
Only 52 to 73. So not
No
much.
way. That's way hotter than that last one.
They start getting, well, because this is Reaper, that's why.
Yeah,
Oh, man. Good stuff, though.
that's very tasty.
That would make like a dynamite wing sauce by itself.
Absolutely.
I'm really liking that.
Well,
We'll
I tell
wait
you,
for
we got
some more to
about 10
roll in,
minutes
and
yeah. I'm sitting with this heat now a little bit. She is getting hotter. She's getting a little hotter now.
it's hanging out in there. You know what? I've got to chase this, Shawn.
What's that?
I have, because I haven't really eaten since this morning. And I know I was going to be eating wings, but I've got a chicken Caesar salad. Because
There's worse chasers.
I just need dinner. I'm just hungry. I feel like though
Oh,
the saltiness and like the acidity and everything in there, I feel like that'll help. So yeah, I will yield the floor back to you, my friend, so you can continue on your journey.
well, I'll tell you, if anyone has any requests or something, I can look something up. But those are the two that I had ready because last year we went over with 20 minutes. So I brought a little over 20 minutes this time. But of course, we also had the chaos of Gerald and Dan partaking in the challenge. So it was madness. But I'm happy to read something else if somebody knows another like a 5-minute thing or a shortish story.
Ooh. Nose is running just a little bit.
Yeah, we're needing more water at this point too.
Is anybody making any suggestions, any requests over in the chat? Read all of the Book of Job in 8 minutes, Gerald says. Read a Spider-Man comic, Stu says. Sean's mom always struck me as an anarchist, says the Diced Onion. Julio says Poe tried to cure his syphilis with this sauce. The Oval Portrait by Poe. There's a request for you from Drew Hallam.
The Oval Portrait.
And then Joey from So Wizard says, read the lyrics to Wet Ass Pussy.
That's a little out of my wheelhouse. Here we go. Oval Portrait.
Thank you all so much for tuning in and for helping us raise money for an amazing, amazing cause and feeding us spicy food.
Indeed. All right, here we go. Now, full disclosure here. I usually rehearse these things before I start. And I've never read this story. So we're going to see how it goes. Thanks for the suggestion, Drew. Drew, of course, is a teacher.
I
so
believe in
all the
you.
good stuff.
I believe in you.
Thank
You got
I
this.
appreciate that. All right. The Oval Portrait by Edgar Allan Poe. The chateau into which my valet had ventured to make forcible entrance rather than permit me in my desperately wounded condition to pass a night in the open air was one of those piles of commingled gloom and grandeur which have so long frowned upon the Apennines, not less in fact in the fancy of Mrs. Radcliffe. To all appearance it had been temporarily and very lately abandoned. We established ourselves in one of the smallest and least sumptuously furnished apartments. It lay in a remote turret of the building. Its decorations were rich, yet tattered and antique. Its walls were hung with tapestry and bedecked with the manifold and multiform armorial trophies, together with an unusually great number of very spirited modern paintings in frames of rich golden arabesque. In these paintings, which depended from the walls not only in their main surfaces, but in the very many nooks which the bizarre architecture of the chateau rendered necessary, in these paintings my incipient delirium perhaps had caused me to take deep interest, so that I bade Pedro to close the heavy shutters of the room, since it was already night, to the light of the tongues of a tall candelabrum which stood by the head of my bed, and throw open far and wide the fringed curtains of black velvet which enveloped the bed itself. I wished all this done that I might resign myself, if not to sleep, at least alternately to the contemplation of these pictures and the perusal of a small volume which had been found upon the pillow and which purported to criticize and describe them. Long, long I read, and devotedly I gazed. Rapidly and gloriously the hours flew by, and the deep midnight came. The position of the candelabrum displeased me, and, outreaching my hand with difficulty rather than disturb my slumbering valet, I placed it so as to throw its rays more fully upon the book. But the action produced an effect altogether unanticipated. The rays of the numerous candles, for there were many, now fell within the niche of the room, which had hitherto been thrown into deep shade by one of the bedposts. I thus saw in vivid light a picture all unnoticed before. It was the portrait of a young girl, just ripening into womanhood. I glanced at this painting hurriedly and then closed my eyes. Why I did this was not at first apparent even to my own perception, but while my lids thus remained shut, I ran over in my mind my reason for so shutting them. It was an impulsive movement to gain time for thought, to make sure that my vision had not deceived me, to calm and subdue my fancy for a more sober and more certain gaze. In a very few moments I again looked fixedly at the painting. That I now saw aright I could not and would not doubt, for the first flashing of the candles upon that canvas had seemed to dissipate the dreamy stupor which was stealing over my senses, and to startle me at once into waking life. The portrait, I have already said, was that of a young girl. It was a mere head and shoulders, done in what was technically termed a vignette manner, much in the style of the favorite heads of Sully. The arms, the bosom, and even the ends of the radiant hair melted imperceptibly into the vague yet deep shadow which formed the background of the whole. The frame was oval, richly gilded and filigreed and Mauresque. As a thing of art, nothing could be more admirable than the painting itself, but it could have neither the execution of the work nor the immortal beauty of the countenance which had so suddenly and so vehemently moved me. Least of all could it have been that my fancy, shaken from its half-slumber, had mistaken the head for that of a living person. I saw at once that the peculiarities of the design, of the vignetting, and of the frame must have instantly dispelled such idea, must have prevented even its momentary entertainment. Thinking earnestly upon these points, I remained for an hour, perhaps, half sitting, half reclining, with my vision riveted upon the portrait. At length, satisfied with the true secret of its effect, I fell back within the bed. I had found the spell of the picture in an absolute lifelikeness of expression, which at first startling, finally confounded, subdued, and appalled me. With deep and reverent awe, I replaced the candelabrum in its former position. The cause of my deep agitation was thus the cause of my deep agitation being thus shut from view, I sought eagerly the volume which discussed the paintings and their histories. Turning to the number which designated the oval portrait, I there read the vague and quaint words which follow. She was a maiden of rarest beauty, and not more lovely than full of glee, and evil was the hour when she saw and loved and wedded the painter. He, passionate, studious, austere, and having already a bride in his art, she, a maiden of rarest beauty, and not more lovely than full of glee, all light and smiles and frolicsome as the young fawn, loving and cherishing all things, hating only the art which was her rival, dreading only the palette and brushes and other untoward instruments which deprived her of the countenance of her lover. It was a terrible thing for this lady to hear the painter speak of his desire to portray even his young bride, but she was humble and obedient, and sat meekly for many weeks in the dark, high turret chamber where the light dripped upon the pale canvas only from overhead. But he, the painter, took glory in his work, which went on from hour to hour and from day to day, and he was a passionate and wild and moody man who became lost in reveries, so that he would not see that light which fell so ghastly in that lone turret withered the health and spirits of his bride, who pined visibly to all but him. Yet she smiled, on and still on, uncomplainingly, because she saw that the painter, who had the high renown, took a fervid and burning pleasure in his task, and wrought day and night to depict her who so loved him, yet who grew daily more dispirited and weak. And in sooth, some who beheld the portrait spoke of its resemblance in low words, as of a mighty marvel, and a proof not less of the power of the painter than of his deep love for her whom he depicted so surpassingly well. But at length, as the labor drew nearer to its conclusion, there were admitted none into the turret, for the painter had grown wild with the ardor of his work, and turned his eyes from the canvas merely even to regard the countenance of his wife. and he would not see that the tints which he had spread upon the canvas were drawn from the cheeks of her who sat beside him. And when many weeks had passed, but little remained to do, save one brush upon the mouth and one tint upon the eye, and the spirit of the lady again flickered up as the flame within the socket of the lamp. And then the brush was given, and then the tint was placed, and for one moment the painter stood entranced before the work which he had wrought, but in the next, while he yet gazed, grew tremulous and very pallid and aghast, and crying with a loud voice, "This is indeed life itself," turned suddenly to regard his beloved, and she was dead.
All right.
That's an ending.
I hope that you're hungry, Mr. Ennis. Because we got Jessica dropping a $75 donation in there saying, "You're my favorite." And that's going to move us up to the next level, which is going to be La Pimentiere. Special mix of peppers fermenting for months leading up to this launch. While we get ready to eat these, can you please, I know you're on like a bit of a hiatus and everything like that right now, but let them know where they can find Ink and Ash out there on the web. And when can we expect to hear the beautiful, amazing tones of the Velvet Drizzle in our ear holes more regularly?
Oh, that's a great question. I wish I knew the answer to it. But in the meantime, you can find me on the old social medias at Ink and Ash Pod. And, I don't post a whole lot there, but when I do, you'll see it. And the easiest thing to do is probably find the show Ink and Ash in any of your podcatchers and subscribe to it. And then when it shows up, you'll get it. So that's the way podcasts work, folks.
That is the way podcasts work. That is very true. This is a very red sauce.
It is quite red.
It looks almost like, it looks like orange sauce is what it looks like Chinese orange sauce or something like that. Thank you so much for doing it, my friend. Once again, I love your beautiful face. I'm probably going to just keep punishing myself with these through Gerald's segment because that's what I do. But let's do this here.
Ooh. I hit like a pocket of sauce there on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now see, this one's getting serious.
Mm-hmm.
There's that heat. There's like the good tasting heat, right?
Yep.
And then you get into this heat, which like comes at your tongue from all the sides, and then that's when it's starting to. Oh boy,
It's like
starting to get,
it's pepper death.
that's when it starts to get real.
Oh, oh my God. Ooh. That one's hitting a little bit hard.
It's a little hard.
Shawn Ennis, I love you so much.
Nick Haskins, I love you too, brother.
I got to say goodbye to you because Logan Morris, ladies and gentlemen, Gerald's son, is going to be taking over the P's to count down our top 5 reasons Gerald's a bad friend. The top 5 movies that Gerald let him watch that he shouldn't have. Oh,
just having listened to the show, this will be an interesting list.
Oh my goodness gracious. Woo. All right, hang on.
I'll tell you what, Nick, if we hit the goal, I will come back on and do the last ones.
Let's do it, brother. But in the meantime, I love you. I will see you very soon.
Love you too.